everybody, it's Thomas here from thomasfitzgeraldphotography.com. Today I'm going to do something a little different. Recently I was going through some old blog posts and I came across this image, which is quite a nice image of the Customs House, which is a famous building here in Dublin. It's a panorama that was stitched together from a group of images, and it was shot using, I believe it was a Panasonic GF1, one of the very first mirrorless cameras, and the first mirrorless camera that I owned. Now, this was from quite a while ago, and I could not find the original of the stitched panorama. I searched for it and couldn't find it anywhere. So in this video what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to recreate this. Now, I did manage to find the actual files that made up this, so I found the raw files from the project because I had them kept on a different drive. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Lightroom and rebuild this. Originally when I created this I was using Aperture and I wasn't using Lightroom, so I would have stitched it in Photoshop and then done kind of post either in Photoshop or in Aperture. I can't actually remember, to be honest, it's quite a while ago. But for this I'm going to try and get as close to this image as possible. Now, it's probably not going to be exact, but we'll try and get to very, very near to it, or try and improve it a bit. So the first thing I did was I found the original raw files, and how I did that was just to give you an idea, if you ever do lose an image and you're trying to find the originals. What I did was I went in. I have the image open in preview here, so I just brought up the information panel, and I looked at the EXIF date, and I found that the date was created on 18th March 2011. So what I did was I searched in the Finder for that date and I searched for images, and by doing that I managed to find the original files. Now, of course, if my library was better organized I wouldn't have had that problem. I would have named everything and I could have searched for it, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I did manage to find the files and I have brought them into Lightroom. So here they are in Lightroom. This is all the images from that shoot. Now, here are the actual files for the panorama. So what I did was I'd used my hand in front of the lens at the start and at the end of the shot. So there you can see my hand at the start and my hand at the end. So the panorama is basically everything in between. And for some reason it's got a bit mixed up, so we want this one as well. So I'm just going to move that over there. Actually, it doesn't matter. Okay, so what I want to do is select these images. So I'm going to select all of these, and I'm just going to select this one as well because that should be in the shot too. So the next thing I want to do is go in here and go Photo Merge and Panorama. Now, like I said, originally I would have done this in Photoshop because Lightroom didn't have that feature at that stage, and also I was working out of Aperture. So I would have basically done all my pre-production in Aperture and then sent the images to Photoshop to merge them. Okay, so here we are. This is giving me a preview. That looks pretty good. It's pretty much exactly what we wanted. So if I switch back, you can see we did have the curve in it originally as well. Yeah, so that's pretty bang on. Obviously the colors are different because I would have done that in post. So I'm happy with that. So we'll just hit merge and let Lightroom do its thing. So let me just scroll down. Now, I've actually been doing a test on this already, so just ignore these, pretend they're not there. Incidentally, if you're using merge to panorama or even merge to HD and you're in the previous import collection, what usually happens is once that's finished, it actually goes down the bottom. So if you're ever wondering, like, why isn't this working? It'll go down the bottom. Or alternatively, if you're working out of the folder or collection, it sometimes comes in. It depends on your sort order. This, because I have it to added order. If I change that to capture time, you'll see, yeah, it's here beside it. But anyway, that's just a piece of pointless information. Okay, so if we go in here, okay, so straight up we have just merged this now. There's no kind of post-processing done on this yet, so we're going to do that next. And one other thing I want to point out is if we go back to the original, you'll notice that on the one we just merged there's stuff here in the foreground and here it's gone. So I would have cloned that out, and we'll do that in Photoshop. But first we're going to get kind of roughly into this tonality. I think when I did this originally I was probably using something like bleached bronze, which was one of my Aperture presets. I have made a Lightroom version of that, so we'll try that and see if that works. It's not going to be exact because I don't know what else I did. I may have done some of the processing in Photoshop on this as well. So, but anyway, let's give it a go. So let me just dive back over to Lightroom and we'll go to the develop module. And Lightroom's having one of those days. Every day is one of those days in Lightroom. Okay, so let me just try a few things. So I'm going to have a look at my bleach bronze presets and see if any of these get similar. Actually, that's not too far off. It's not great though. The colors are a bit wrong. Let me just try. I'll just scroll through some of these and just try them. If you look on the original, you can see that it's actually quite white. The color balance is a bit different as well, so that's not bad either. Let me just try. I want to warm this up a bit. Bring the saturation back up, not too much. You can see there's a lot of reds in that, so I think we're starting on the wrong line here. So let me just try. Let's try this one. Bring the saturation up. Actually, that's much better. And then we just make it a bit warmer. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere now. It's still a bit too bright, so I'll dial down the whites a bit. There's too much clipping going on. It's definitely still not quite right. I'm just going to warm this up. Oh, actually, that's getting a bit better. It's not too far off. There's definitely some issue with the whites going on, and I think we can fix that if I go down to the split toning. Yeah, that's much better. She's just gonna give it a try. Okay, it's not too far off it. Increase that. Let's try a bit of dehaze, because that's kind of like a magic. Actually, that's not bad. The vignette's a bit over the top here, so I'm going to turn that down a bit. Increase the feather. And if we go back and look, it's not far off it. The blues are a bit of a different color. We can try tweaking the blues a bit, maybe just the luminance a bit. Okay, it's not exact, but it's kind of in the ballpark, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it into Photoshop and then try and do a bit more to it. Okay, so right click, edit in, Photoshop, Lightroom will do its thing. We just pop over to Photoshop or wait while it exports. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and what we want to do is get rid of these parts down here and over here. So let me just zoom back out. Okay, so I'm going to make a duplicate of my layer, so Command J to duplicate, and let's just try with content aware fill and see if that works. So I'll select this bit first, and then I go Shift F5, and for content I select content aware, click OK. Okay, and that's gone. Okay, so let's try this side. shift F5 again, content aware, okay, and it's gone. And just deselect. Yep, and there's not even a trace of it. There's a little bit of this here, but that could be anything because we've got some reflections over here as well. If I wanted, I could get rid of this. If you think that's making it a bit fake, what I could do is, let me just see, let's go with the patch tool, select this, and then maybe pick from here. That's actually worse, so let's undo that. Maybe from here. Okay, so that's not bad, that's got rid of everything. Okay, we zoom back out. Okay, and so that's pretty much the image that we had. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. I'd say that's as close as I'm going to get. I could try and fix the blues a bit more in the sky, but to be honest with you, I actually prefer these blues, so I'm going to leave it. But other than that, yeah. So the last thing we need to do is just send this back to Photoshop, or send this back to Lightroom. So just hit save, and let it save. Okay, and now I just switch back to Lightroom, and bring this in, and there we have it. There's the finished image. I could do more to this if I wanted. I could try and bring up some more detail or whatever, maybe try and bring out the texture in the water, but to be honest with you, I think it's fine. I'm not really going to get any better than that, and like I said, it's pretty much the same as our original, except the color is very slightly different. If I was to guess, I would say there's slightly more magenta in this, but other than that, I think that's okay. If I did want to do that, let me just have a quick look, just for completion purposes. To be honest with you, like I said, I actually prefer this. So actually, before we do anything, I am going to create a virtual copy, so just so we have that kept. Okay, and if I go in here and I can just tweak the blues ever so slightly, maybe the aqua as well. Oh, we're the wrong way. It's a very fine balance. That's not too bad. Might be slightly saturated less. Yeah, I think that's pretty close. It's probably not 100%, but yeah, no, that's pretty close. I'm not going to get any closer than that. Like I said, I actually prefer the other version anyway, so I actually prefer this version. I think the kind of slightly more cyan look in this guy is actually better than being a bit too much red in it. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. So that's what you do if you've lost a panorama and need to rebuild it. Hopefully you'll never have this situation if you look after your images properly. The reason I lost this in the first place was I had a hard drive failure and there were some images on it that weren't backed up, so the lesson for that is make sure you back up your images. That's pretty much it. Just one last thing, I did a few different versions of this earlier, so there's one that's a bit redder, but again, it's not great. Whereas this one, I'm happy with that. Okay, so thank you, and I hope you found this useful. If you like this video, then give it a like, and so that more people can find it. And if you like what I'm doing here, subscribe to my channel, check out my blog, and do all the other things. There's links in the description below. Yeah, so we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks a million. Bye.